Yo, what's up guys, it's TBAG and today I want to go over Battlefield 6 and the new update. We got some brand new information on what is changing following the beta and the feedback, and some changes are already met with some pretty major criticism. Let's check it out and I will reserve my judgment for a little bit later. There's also some stuff they didn't mention that worries me a little bit. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, drop a like if you're still excited for Battlefield 6. Let's go. First off, this beta was the single largest and most successful beta that Battlefield has ever seen, and I'm actually not surprised at all if you look at Google Trends. This year's Battlefield hype is literally breaking records. They shared some crazy numbers for the beta as well, over 600,000 hours streamed, 30 million hours watched, and tens of thousands of people jumping into Discord to squad up. But these numbers are even crazier. We've got 420 million matches played in total and 92 million hours of gameplay. So that's 0.22 hours of playtime per match on average, or about 13 minutes played per match on average. I don't know, I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, the hype is definitely there. People want Battlefield to succeed, but of course, numbers don't mean the game is perfect, and that's what the open beta was supposed to be about, finding issues and fixing them before release, and that's mainly the reason why I made those exploit videos. So let's start there with the maps. First off, they said they are aware of the exploits that allows you to go onto the rooftops on the Cairo map, and they did confirm this is not intended, and they're actively working on adjustments to prevent unintended access and ensure gameplay stays within the intended boundaries. And I just think it's funny how so many people in my comment section on that video and on Twitter said that these weren't exploits and just part of the map. Well, now it's been confirmed and they are going to fix this. Another big point of criticism regarding the maps were the map sizes. Most of the maps, including Liberation Peak, in my opinion, were on the small side and did not have that classic all-out warfare feeling that Battlefield is supposed to be known for. Well, they did confirm larger scale maps are coming at launch, obviously, including one brand new map called Mirage Valley. This map and the remake of Operation Firestorm from Battlefield 3 are now being tested in Battlefield Labs, I think. I haven't checked it myself. So that's great news, but personally I also want to see some proper naval combat maps return, like Parasol Storm from Battlefield 4. Battlefield has always shined when it offers those huge varied battlefields, land, air and sea. Right now I'm not convinced that the launch package is going to deliver that, and that makes me really sad. Am I really the only one that liked the naval combat in Battlefield 4? I mean, tell me this doesn't look epic as hell. I feel like nobody's talking about it, just me. Now let's talk about movement. Following the beta and the beta's feedback, movement has been nerfed. Kinda. They nerfed the momentum, reduced jump spamming, and made firing while jumping or sliding less accurate. I've seen a very mixed reaction to this news. A lot of people feel like the movement was fine and offered some skill gap, and are not pretty upset about these changes. Then the other half pretty much really like this news because they say this makes the game feel more grounded and less spammy. I kinda see both sides of the coin in this case. I didn't really mind the movement too much during the beta, but I can definitely see where people are coming from when they say they want to see the movement a little bit nerfed, because I've seen some clips about what you can do with the movement and that was pretty crazy. I will hold off with my judgment on this until I actually play it and get a feel for it. That said, some other issues remain. Revives, for example. Right now they're way too fast. You can just spam them with no charge up and create these revive trains where an entire squad pops back up in seconds. That makes getting kills kinda meaningless if there is a player that actually revives people. I'd rather see revives takes a bit more commitment, otherwise it's just broken. In other Battlefield games you either had to charge up the defibs and you couldn't spam them. There was always some sort of cooldown after each revive attempt. I want to see that back. Next up is weapons and gunplay. They're saying they've done a full pass on recoil and tapfire characteristics. The goal is to make every weapon feel unique and encourage precision with tap firing and burst firing instead of just spraying full auto. Now that's good. I hope they increase recoil overall, because I felt like it was a little bit too easy to control most of the weapons. But I still think one of the core problems is not the weapons themselves or how they feel, it's the fact that they can be chosen for every single class. Like in Rush, for example, you can just pick Recon and load up on C4, a spawn beacon, that's now going away to the assault class by the way, which I think is a mistake, but we'll talk about that later, and a motion sensor. Those gadgets are insanely powerful in Rush, especially when you're defending, but then you aren't really locked to Recon weapons. You can still use any assault rifle or LMG that you want, and that ruins the whole idea of classes actually having trade-offs, especially in the Rush game mode, like I said. And it kind of breaks balance at its core. They can tweak recoil all they want, but this class versus gadget system needs a bigger rethink long term in my opinion. I mean, this is a great illustration of how the classes are not balanced anymore. Their official stats show that the class pick ratio for the assault class is 32%. The support class is 26%, engineer 23%, and Recon all the way at the bottom with a 19% pick rate. This tells me that the weapons are what matters most when choosing a class. But now that they're open weapons, it doesn't really matter. You just choose your favorite gadget with your preferred guns. So the assault class gets both any primary weapon you want as well as another primary like the broken shotgun. By the way, they also mentioned that the overpowered shotgun now takes more pellets to kill and that they will be looking into the TTK and TTD experience overall because there were definitely some problems with that during the beta. But to continue about the classes, like I said, people choose the assault class now because you get 2 primaries, and the support class can also get any primary weapon, plus they get infinite ammo and health. I feel like the class balance has been totally disrupted. If you look at this image, this is an approximate pick rate for the Battlefield 1 classes. This was put together by Reddit user Rainier that looked at a bunch of data from Battlefield Tracker, and as you can see, Battlefield 1 had almost a perfect class pick rate of 25% across all 4 classes, which in my opinion tells us that the balance is pretty much perfect. Assault gets the best close range weapons, the SMG plus a lot of explosives. Support gets LMGs that excel in multiple ranges plus the ammo bag and some other useful gadgets. Medics don't necessarily get the best all-round guns, but they are responsible for reviving people and healing others as well as themselves, and the Recon was the only class in the game with access to sniper rifles. That's what good class balance looks like. I feel like we need that back in Battlefield 6. Right now they're doubling down on having both the open weapons and close weapons experience in the final build of the game through separate playlists like we had in the beta. I really wish they'd just stick to the close weapon system. What do you guys think? Let's talk more about the game modes. In weekend 2 of the beta, they brought back Rush, but honestly, it feels like an afterthought. The maps don't really feel like they're designed for it, so the MCOM stations just feel like they're placed in a random spot rather than being part of a proper flow, like for example in Battlefield Bad Company 1, Bad Company 2, or Battlefield 3. In those games, Rush was the game mode. Maps were designed around Rush, and now it feels tacked on. And that's disappointing because Rush can be absolutely amazing. Another thing that's disappointing about Rush is that after completing a game, the lobby will disband. So if you were defending and were looking forward to switching sides to be on the attacking team, too bad. Now you're loading into a new match with new players, so that rivalry is gone as well, and you might end up on the defending team yet again. So an easy solution to this is to simply have the game end when both teams have taken their turn to attack and defend. I don't mind the 12 versus 12 size of Rush though. A lot of people wanted to see 16 versus 16, but I didn't really have any problems with 12 versus 12. DICE even said themselves they've experimented with 64 and even 128 player Rush with Battlefield 2042, but it just doesn't work. It's too chaotic, too much defense stacking, and matches are ending in the very first sector. So now they're scaling Rush back down to smaller player counts. Of course, if you want an insane player count again, that's where Portal comes into play, so we'll see how that plays out. Breakthrough, on the other hand, works better with bigger counts, like 64 players. They're tuning it map by map and aiming for that 50-50 balance for attackers and defenders. Some maps even have 48 players instead of 64, which is really interesting, and for those cases, it kinda makes sense to have lobbies disband, because a 64 player lobby can't matchmake into a 48 player lobby. So again, they for sure need to have both teams take turn attacking before the game ends. Also, I just realized disbanding lobbies means no set map rotation and no more map voting. If after every match you simply get matched into a new server, that continuous feeling of going to a new map with the same group of players is completely lost. Next up are vehicles. Vehicles are another sore spot for me. The beta just didn't deliver on that front for me personally. Tanks feel kinda boring, the helicopter has awful controls, and the vehicle damage feedback is basically non-existent. Half the time you're taking damage and you wouldn't even know it until you explode. Vehicles feel incomplete right now. I always like the feel and controls for both tanks, jets and helicopters in Battlefield 4 the best, so why not just copy that? Now before ending the video, I do have some other points I want to touch on. Grenades also need work. The throw animation is ugly, the throw speed is way too fast, and they just don't feel threatening. Fuse time is fine though, throw distance is also fine, but the impact of grenades is totally missing. When somebody lobs a grenade at you, it should feel very scary, not like an annoyance. Again, in Battlefield 4, throwing a grenade felt more deliberate. It may have been slower, but it felt more powerful and grounded. Then there is spotting. Right now, Recon has auto spotting, and it's absolutely ridiculous. You can literally see invisible players pop up with a giant red marker above their heads, and it turns the game into a Dorito shooter like we had in Battlefield 4. Auto spotting should only be a gadget or an attachment command and not a free ability, and it should be nerfed across the board anyway. Right now you can simply aim down sights and all the targets are instantly spotted for you. You could be hiding in the best spot ever and a recon can just look at your general direction and you're instantly spotted. It's just stupidly broken. And I also think we need some form of suppression back. Not an aim penalty where even if you manage to aim perfectly despite the suppression you'd still miss, that always pissed me off, but at least some kind of visual suppression. Because right now you can land multiple shots on a sniper and they can still instantly dome you with a headshot as if nothing's happening. A little screen flinch would go a long way. Performance wise, I still saw some screen tearing in weekend 2 of the beta, mostly on the performance mode, so that has to be fixed before release, but maybe that's a VRR issue, I'm not sure. Now on to the server browser. No, we are not getting a full one, but at least they're adding a map selector. That's better than nothing. Playlist variety was limited in the beta and they admitted matchmaking wasn't great, so hopefully that gets ironed out. I also noticed that when I had crossplay turned on as a console player, I was matched mostly with PC players, despite them saying that console versus console will be prioritized with crossplay enabled. That pissed me off, so I turned crossplay off most of the time during the beta. Now, despite me sounding pretty negative, I'm actually extremely excited for Battlefield 6. I'm just not fully convinced yet about some aspects of the game, like the no server browser and the open weapon classes. The foundation is definitely there, it's already a million times better than Battlefield 2042, but the game still feels like it's missing some component of its identity that made the older Battlefield so special. But I'm very hopeful and optimistic that we'll get an amazing product at launch. Anyway, that's about it for the video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Are you feeling more confident about hearing these changes, or do you have some points that you really want to see addressed? Let me know down below. Drop a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and with that being said, I see you guys next time.